Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and it is Thursday, March 12th. I think it said it was 42 degrees Fahrenheit outside, which it didn't seem like 44 degrees here in Marietta, Georgia, and it's a little rainy outside and all that. So today I'm working again. I'm working on my space and time project again. I'm trying to get an issue resolved, which is to delete any animations associated with a deleted visualization. And I kind of made the decision that I wanted a way to make it so that it's discoverable from the UI. And the reason I want to do that is so that I could write a Cypress end-to-end test that would be able to then validate that what I expect to happen happens. And then that way I've locked in that feature and I don't have to worry about that feature ever going away. So that is what I am up to today. So basically I ended up adding a whole side new thing where it's like so that you can come in and specifically go to a specific animation or type, and then when you added it, like, so I could come in, I could say add, this is how the UI test would work, the end-to-end test. So then you come to this view and then you say delete, and then you say back, and this should be gone, but it's still there. So that's how we'll know. So basically we spent a lot of time literally just setting up a UI that would be testable for end to end. And I don't think that that's something most people consider when they're um, trying to when they're trying to build things, is like people think, oh, okay, I'm just going to have a big set of Cypress tests that will end-to-end test, and they're going to be great. But the reality is that if you don't build it with the sort of Cypress in the original DNA and unit test in the original DNA, like trying to retro those things in is almost impossible. It'd be like, oh, okay, first I'm going to build a nice little Porsche sports car, and then I'm going to turn it into a dump truck. And it's just like, no, that like it had to have been a dump truck from the beginning. You can't convert a little fiberglass sports car into a friggin' massive titanium dump truck, like with stuff, like you just can't retro. It has to be built that way from the beginning. So that is sort of like one thing I've just sort of learned as part of this mission. So now we have a drop down, and then we even say choose filter criteria. And the general idea would be that A, when I come to this page, it should already be selected, and B, you should be able to select something in here, like animations, and then B, all of the different types should be listed in here, including this all types, which maps to entities. So we do, and I find this to be the reality in most. Um, so let's add one. In most contexts, the reality. I forgot what I was going to say, but oh, that there's almost always like a hybrid mix of like these map directly. So like those routes map directly to existing and entity types, or ST types, but it also has like another one that is just for all of them that doesn't map to any of these. So like you just have this hybrid of like code that you need to have that like is very front end specific. It's literally all that matters is for the UI, and then you have data that is data that you would want to be able to capture, and that is always sort of a thing that always happens. But anyways, at this point, um, we need to create a list of types, and I know we already got the data, but I can't remember what it is. And I need to be able to sort of just deal with it on its own. So I'm just going to add a little div here. I'm going to say hello world, happy little div, hello world. I don't think you'll be able to see it because I think the div will be black and the um, text will be black. And I don't know why it didn't rebuild. Shouldn't it have rebuilt? Like, I changed the actual HTML. It said it rebuilt. Maybe it did. So let's do this. We're going to put an inline style just for debugging purpose, and I think it's style equals background color Alice blue. Save. There we go. There's our hello world. So that's pretty cool. It didn't lose my data or anything. It just updated the screen. That's really cool. All right, and so if I remember correctly, we have some data in here. And what is it? What is our data? Entities, is that it? Router, leadtail, entities, router file records. Maybe we don't have the data. I thought we did. Looks like we filtered records. STIDs. So I definitely misremembered that, which is not unusual. Um, so routing layouts. There was like export layout type. Oh yeah, so we had our layout types. Let me look at the, feel like I even remember us having a console log that showed, yeah, this right here. This is what I want. No, this is not what I want. Let's see. Maybe it is what I want. I thought I had like a set of types. So the next step is look in here and figure out what all I've changed because there's probably. Okay, yes, this is it. Routing detail types. That's what I want. And I want to be able to see it from my app layout components. My dog is over there trying to get in. Um, oh, okay. So here is where we try to entity selection data. So that is not right. We want not ST types. We want our layout types, which is all the ST types plus that. So I pasted that in, and so it doesn't know what that is, but it looks like the ID has a pretty good idea. All right, looks like there's one we're not using anymore. Okay, so it's not an SD type though. It's like, hey, this is not an SD type. This is a, let's go back over here, go to, I think it's definition. And it is of type. Oh, I think it is the type. Let's see. Okay, so I wonder if it will provide me a solution. I think it's just the type is wrong. And I was just curious if it would help. All right. So let's go back to this definition. I think what we want to do, console, go to definition, is this? Is that right? And like we got to, again, I always have to remind myself over and over again, this is not JavaScript. This is TypeScript. There we go. So now it's happy with that. Now let's see what happens. F12. Yeah, there's our entities and blank. So basically, these first seven are like mapped one to one. All right. But then this is like if nothing, or this one is to show everything, and that's not like a map one to one mapping or anything. That's a pure UI only thing. And then this is like if there was nothing in there, which should never actually happen. So because I think if we go just to data, it'll move us. I don't think it'll even is even a thing, right? Like I think that would be this equivalent to this. Like so there's nothing there. I believe, yeah, so we won't even let the router won't let us get to that point, but it is a reality that we have to deal with. So now, so we moved in the right direction with that. And what do we console log in? Entity select data. Entity select data. It is only 8:39, so I still have a good bit of time. Let's see. Let's go back in here. Good file. And then and put that in there. And there they are. S2 render entities in blank. Okay, so we want to iterate over each of them. I guess it'll be a little easier to kind of get that from here. What is it? Is it hashtag 4? I don't know. I think it's a percent. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Is it percent? Or at? I think it is at 4. And then maybe not. Okay. Let's see. I know I have 4 loops in here in this application. Let's just do this. Let's go find one of the other ones just as an example. It is hard to kind of pop back and forth between. So I know tabular layout must do a for loop inside of there. There we go. Oh, what's that for? Okay. Yeah, switching back and forth between Angular 9 and um, of and these aren't really entities. Well, I guess they are. And let's see, entity. Item? I think that's a good name. It's an entity select item. Entity selects items track. I think it's index $index here. This is just something you just I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it. It's just something you just have to remember. Is that $index is something special. Um, and then just like hello. I like to have as few moving parts as possible. Okay, so that looks like that works. And then we don't need this anymore. And then we do need this guy right here. So, um, and it's kind of hard to tell because there's a blank one in there as well. But So now I think what we could do is we can just come down here. I don't know for sure, but I've never tried this with in this new stuff before, but I think we can just come down here. Logic and reasoning tell me that I can come down here and hit enter. Do that for loop. Do that funky for loop, baby. Do that funky for loop. And then I think we can just say, I believe. Well, here, let's don't break our rule. Okay, so we should have a whole, like, too many moving parts. I don't want to have too many moving parts. So what I want to have is a whole bunch of, yep, valid options, right? So I go all the way down here. You can only select one, so that's good. Now, this is a string, so I think I can just use it as is. And in here, this is where I think there's sort of a bit of inconsistency, at least for the way my brain sees things, is that like in here we're going to use the double interpolation format, right? And then, but then over here, and see, there's our blank one. And then over here on this side, I believe what we want to do, and this was the biggest reason I didn't want to just do it. I think we want to go like this, and basically that's telling it to do that, to use a calculated value, but and then the transpiler is doing a good job and is saying, hey, there's no variable name valid. That valid doesn't exist. If there was a variable named valid, it would exist, which would be a crazy coincidence, which happens all the time and is a very, very difficult. It can be very confusing for a developer. When you get in there and you start like going, "Ooh, why is this showing the same thing over it?" It's like, oh, because that's tied to a um, variable that's on there. All right, so now typically this is probably as far as you want. You could add more like logic, so we could, well, we can get rid of this. You could add more logic into the template itself. Like there's ways, they have ways of doing that. Like you could just add like little pipes and stuff. And a pipe actually might be a good idea, actually, in real life. Actually, that's actually a really good idea. So we want to pipe this. Yeah, I never really thought about that before, but it's pretty obvious. So on this side, we want to like call a function that knows what to do based on what it's looking there. Um, the other thing that's probably at this point a really good idea to do is, see, you notice like we sort of have this blank one, we have this entities one, um, and really I think entities goes with all ST types, right? So like that's actually the text that should, when it's entities, but then um, like the rest of these, this should be that, and then we probably shouldn't even do one if there is a, we shouldn't even do one if it's blank. Like blank is a legal value. So I wanted to do that, but even if it was blank, it would just take us back to the thing. So we can't even, it's not even a valid value in this context, but it's a valid, there are, I think there are other contexts that it is a valid value. And so we just need to ignore anything if it's, um, if it's blank, right? So we want to get rid of that one. And we want to move this one to the top. That's always a tricky thing too. So we want to handle sorting. So where do you handle that sorting? Probably. And then the other thing is maybe we want to handle removing this in the TypeScript. Might be a better use of that, especially now that we have effects. I've never really had effects. So basically, the effect would help us. I guess it doesn't even help us because it doesn't. Well, so we could create another actual labels, right? So this is our, where are you? So weird. Okay, so this is our entity select data, but that's not. That's actually our raw, which, and maybe it shouldn't be. I guess it shouldn't be. Well, okay, so this is the raw, which is that, but then we do want an entities select, which is the same name. That was a good name. Which this right here is actually just an array of these things. And we want it to be a different array. We don't want it to be the exact same array. I don't even know if you can, but, and then I guess maybe we could do a filtering. I wonder if we can do the mapping right here. Dot filter. And basically we want it to first things first. I guess we want to do two things. Well, okay, so we're going to also want to sort it. Probably, yeah, we're going to want to sort it as well. So, which we could probably chain that if we want. Now the biggest problem here is going to be unit testing. We're going to want to be able to unit test this, and I don't think we're going to. It'll be very challenging. So we're probably going to want to start it off like this. Now, one problem is that we have run a really high risk of creating one of those expression changed things because I'm going to set it to nothing and then in the constructor I'm going to change it. So that means it's going to try to update. It's going to probably update the page after, which I don't really want to do that. But I do. Well, okay. I wonder if I can call something from here. Oh, stop populate menu. I don't know. I've never tried this before. So let's see if we could do this. Populate menu. And then return. And I'm just curious if this will even work. Okay, why entity select. You need a little. Who do you think you are? You think you're a biggie? Okay, so that should go to like blank, should be empty after this because all we're returning is a, yeah. So now what we want to do is actually, let's strongly type this thing first. So it wants an array of routing detail types. And this is kind of nice because this will actually allow us to do our sorting in here as well. So, okay, so it's happy again. It's happy, 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 happy. Now, instead of doing that, I think I want to just do this. And I guess now I'm starting to see why code gets very confusing. Oh yeah, because it doesn't accept. And I think I'm just going to copy this whole thing. I want to take it down here. I think I could just take it down there into this populate menu. And like, just to be clear, like that was like hundreds of mental processes that went into me understanding that was only very simple for me because I've done it a million times. But like there's a lot of steps that were in that. But now I'm very curious, actually, now this really is interesting to me because if I return this, is it the same object and is it going to choke? Is this is actually going to be very fascinating to me if it'll let me do this. Yeah, see, it won't let me do that. And it won't let it's only JavaScript would have no problem with me doing this, but TypeScript is noticing that I have created this object here. And then um, this array, and now I want to give an actual link, an actual pointer. I want to actually give it a reference to the actual address of this right here. That's what I'm trying to do. And it's like you can't do that because you're likely to go change that. So I believe what I can do, I believe I can use this what's called the spread operator, which has never been a real natural thing for me. That's always felt very unnatural. But that's sort of a shorthand for saying just copy everything in there and give it to me, which works really well for this because it's an array of strings, which and strings are primitives. But if it wasn't an array of strings, if it was an array of objects, it would actually give me a reference to those objects, and then I would be changing those objects in the calling um, array. Is that what I'm trying to say? Calling array in the yeah, it would be so I or in the constants. So I have a constant array, and I gave a I did a spread like this, and I send it back. Yes, I have a different object that is I have a different suitcase, but it's the same stuff in the suitcase that is in the original suitcase. So then I would be back to changing the original as opposed to the original. I think when you create a constant, you generally don't want anything changing that. But anyway, so we should be back to this being right. Nope. Did I not hit? Oh, I didn't hit save. Ooh, I gotta go. Gotta go. There we go. All right, so now we want to filter this one out. So next, filter out the blank and move entities to the top. Blank entities. So now, like, I'm just going to have some custom code that moves the entities to the top. That's it. That's literally all I could, and probably even renames it. Um, maybe I don't know. Actually, now, yeah. So yeah, actually, this is about to get even more complex because I'm probably going to come to the conclusion that I need to have a value and a name, a label and value. Um, and that means that, yeah, things get a little bit more interesting. But anyway, so this, I'm just going to hard code that code, that sort of because it's not business logic. It's they will call it business, especially backend and API people. They will call it business logic, but it's not. It's UI logic. It's specific to UI that doesn't matter anywhere else in the whole world except for in the UI. Um, and maybe yeah. I think this is for the first time I ever thought of that. But anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.